So we try again. Amanda's Facebook page is actually blocked, so this could be a reason why she's unable to connect. Which is quite frustrating. But we're gonna give it a try still. Yeah. Do any of you guys know, like, if you are banned on Facebook, does it stop you from going on live? Yeah, man, this is crazy. No, doesn't seem to be working, guys. I've just no, this is crazy. So I appreciate you guys joining. Seriously, it means a lot. But stay tuned. I'm gonna have to end this one again, and see what we can figure out. If we can't get it done, I'm probably gonna have to record a conversation with her, and then upload it, using something else. So yeah, we'll see. I probably might be going. Oh, she's in here. Okay, let me see if I can invite you. Yeah. Okay.
Hi. Did it work?
Yeah, it worked.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
Was it glitchy? Was there problems?
It wasn't letting me. Usually, when you try to add somebody to the live, it comes up with all the names.
Yeah.
For some reason, your name was not coming up. So
Well, what's interesting is I'm actually blocked on Facebook right now, and Facebook bought Instagram.
yeah,
So they actually limited my Instagram account because I'm blocked on Facebook, which is
ridiculous.
amazing when you think about it, right? Because what if they buy up everything else and
Well, that's how it's
and
going, right?
right, so then you're just going to be banned across all platforms. There you go, right? So that's
Yeah,
ridiculous.
but I'm glad we have finally done it. Amazing. So I just want to start off by saying how I actually found your page. I was
Okay.
I was kind of going down the deep dark rabbit hole of the virus theory because I was one who was believing in all this virus hype. And then I kind of started to awaken to it. Then I was researching Stefan Lang, some of his work. And I think I was watching an interview, I think it was by Gary Mullis, I believe. I think you posted it, and I checked the account. And then I seen your YouTube account, and then you were posting very, very interesting titles to your videos. So I was watching through, and I thought, wow, like nobody. I've been trying to search for somebody speaking about this for so long, and I finally found it. So I definitely knew that I wanted to speak with you and get this information out there. So yeah, you have a YouTube channel called Yummy Mummy Emporium. I've been telling everybody to go check that out. You're also a holistic health practitioner, Reiki master, I believe. Um, and I just guess the first question I want to ask you is how you got into holistic health. Give a little bit of background so people know a bit about you.
Sure. Yeah, I think I was born a certain way. I think some people are
Yeah.
sensitive to my environment, sensitive to nature. And when I was really young, I actually had many spiritual experiences where I had a guide with me that I could perfectly see, but no one else could. Um, and she taught me all kinds of things, how energy works, how the fields of the body interact with the fields of the rest of nature, how trees feed on energy, not just water and sunlight, but actually energy, and all of these things. And I thought it was perfectly normal until I was informed that that individual wasn't real. And then about 8 or 9, I dissolved her. She actually said goodbye. She's going to integrate with me, but she's always there. And I cried for like 5 days. But it was, to me, this world was never what other people saw this world as, just from youth. So I already had a passion toward animals, nature, these things. So I was an artist, actually. I was painting and I was creating. I was always creating. And I was always the type of kid that would, make mud pies and put dandelion flowers in and make all kinds of
Yeah.
different concoctions, right? Practicing alchemy, not knowing that's what I was doing. And then when I became um, older, I decided that I wanted to go into sciences and become a veterinarian. So it actually started that way. And I went to university out in Lethbridge, Alberta, because I wanted to travel a little bit as well. And that degree, interestingly enough, had to have all the prerequisites for me to go into veterinary college, right? So the only degree they had at Lethbridge at the time was this new degree, which was called agricultural biotechnology, which is basically the manipulation of these particles and doing genetic alterations to plants. So it was
Yeah.
it was aghast to me. It was shocking to me that we actually do these things. It felt wrong, and it felt against the divine to do those things. But I learned who Monsanto was and all of the Cargill and all of these companies, what they're up to. So I've got a very interesting education and scientific background there. And then I went on to apply to vet college, and I had mentored with a holistic vet who was also a naturopath and an acupuncturist, and he was very learned in Chinese medicine, and he taught me so much. I'm ever grateful to him and his wife. And that was in Edmonton. We lived in Edmonton. And then I went to the interview, and they just attacked me for even thinking holistic. Like, how dare you try to mix veterinary medicine with holistic principles, And I was so naive then. I didn't think. I thought, doesn't everybody just want to get along and
Yeah.
better the world and
Mm.
right? It wasn't until a little bit later when I started to delve into the truth about how this world is run, started to wake up to those things, that I became less naive in my approaches. And then, so obviously I didn't get into veterinary college, and my mentor said, why don't you go to naturopathic college instead? And I said, you mean treat humans? And he said, yeah, I mean, babies are innocent, the elderly need, because it was always about that. It was always about those who cannot speak for themselves. I felt passionate about,
Yeah.
helping those people or animals or whatever, plants, whoever, whatever can't speak for themselves. And that's how I went through naturopathic college, and found my love of that. I mean, I already had been interested in all of these topics. I already had trained distance training for homeopathy through the British Institute of Homeopathy. I was doing all kinds of deep research on herbals, how to use them for what, purposes before school, because it opened me up into all of that. And in fact, when I was living in Edmonton, people just would find me. They would like knock on my back door and say, "Hey, Amanda, I have a cold or I have this thing going on. What can you give me?" And I would just open my books up and I would make them like a little care package that they would go off with. And so I got known in my community for doing that. It just became natural for me.
Yeah.
And then after, when I finally went through this terrible ordeal with the naturopathic board, which again, my naivety about what these people are about and their agenda, because I was very political. I didn't want to be licensed, and I really just wanted to be free to speak about one of my passions, which is vaccines, and another of my passions, which is basically unearthing all the medical lies that we've been taught for a very long time, and they don't support that. So you get attacked, ridiculed, slandered, and these kinds of things when you go against anybody. It doesn't matter how holistic you think they might be. I'm fringe of the fringe of that group, right? So there's not too many of us who are speaking out like this, because the reason being they attack you and they destroy your careers when you do that. That's why people don't speak out, right? Because
it is a very fear-based system. So people have their own interests they need to protect, and I think that's really part of the problem, because I know a lot of doctors are actually awake to the medical establishment and the multiple crimes they've committed and continue to do, yet they haven't got the courage to stand up and speak, because they have their own self-interests to protect, which I completely get. But I think we're at a time where I believe like it needs to come to a time where all doctors have to speak up now, because we don't have much time to play with at the moment, in my opinion.
Yeah, we're now everything is funneling
Mm-hmm.
toward the end game, right? I'm getting an echo, just so you know, on
Yeah.
the account.
Okay, give me 1 second. I think maybe I have it too loud.
So we're at a critical junction right now where a lot of people are being forced to either wake up really fast, or to accept what the whole New World Order agenda it has in store for them. And I know it's going to get ever messier as we go along here. And it's an incredible time, though, because this is really the apocalypse, which means the great reveal. And it's a great time to be alive, because we're exposing all this stuff now. And despite the rampant censorship that we're experiencing, it's still getting out, and people are starting to tune in to the mass consciousness and realize that something's not quite right about all of this. Even those who are quite indoctrinated, blue-pilled, whatever, they're starting to go, something's not adding up here.
Yeah, I believe the whole lockdown has kind of almost backfired in a sense, because I mean I've been doing this for a few years, and you've seen the world, and I've noticed from this time of this lockdown, or when this coronavirus hoax, or whatever you want to call it, had begun. I mean, I've seen a huge like awakening. So many people awakening to things. It was like a real big push. And we've got to keep that momentum going, and things will change. I do firmly believe that.
Yeah, it's upheaval time, right? And they're going to, what I'm noticing is there's a big rush happening from their side. They're really eager
Yeah.
to because it's been such a long con for so long, right? It's almost like right before the event, you get too excited and you get too eager, so they they're basically jumping the gun. I
Definitely.
noticed this, and
It's
I
like,
like,
yeah,
yeah,
it's
because
like,
they make messes.
yeah, I feel like there's multiple different kind of agendas taking place, and we've been seeing them pushing it along kind of consistently, but it's just been rampant right now. They've just done everything so fast, and surely that's going to have a very negative effect on them, whatever you want to call them. Um,
Yeah.
so this live will be an hour and we'll cut off over an hour. That's what Instagram does. So I want to try and get into the good stuff here. And I think the best place to start is the question everybody is asking and wants to know: what is a virus? I think we should go a bit into this. And I mean, can you give your thoughts on what a virus is and what people should know what a virus is?
Well, it's important that people do their history research properly. And where I suggest people begin is reading an older book by Ethel Douglas Hume, which is Béchamp versus Pasteur. That will be foundational, and it will help you understand the times in which the theory was born out of. Because if you don't, like, we're in these times, we're in these modern times and the way that we think, right? But you have to go back to what was going on then to really get that layer that you can launch off of. Because if you have your foundational system based on a lie, everything you build upon that will also be an error. And so, what's really hard, I find, for people is to understand that when you have that incorrect, you can have decades and decades of material formulated. You can have mathematical models. You can have all kinds of doctorates and PhDs and all this mess created. But if that's wrong, all that is incorrect. And that's what we have in the virology situation.
Mm-hmm.
You have an incorrect model viewpoint looking forward into what you think it is. So if your baseline is wrong, which the baseline is viruses cause disease, viruses are out there coming in, then everything else, the way you look at science, the way you study it, is going to be wrong. Okay? So that right there is the fundamental, foundational, philosophical baseline that must always be adjusted for when you're starting to open your mind to this knowledge. And then do the proper history work. That will help you a lot,
Mm-hmm.
okay, when you start to go, well, what about this, what about that? Because then all these other questions come. And if you don't have your foundation, you're just going to make so much mess in your mind and you're going to waste a lot of time.
Yeah.
Right? It's actually quite simple. That's the irony of it all. It's actually they're very simple concepts and they're very simple understandings of how the body works.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been taken away from that. We've been taken out of a holistic principle of thinking about the body. We've been segmented into compartments, right? So you go to a specialist for your lungs, you go to a specialist for your liver, all of this stuff, and they don't even really talk together. And so the idea is that the body's just a machine and you service it like you would your car.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not at all like that. It's akin to trying to understand how a wave moves each time in its unique way, or how stars do their patterning. It's not mechanical. It's art.
Mm-hmm.
And so you put the artistic side, the creativity of this organism back into the picture. And then you understand that everything communicates with everything else in the body. So it's very basic. If you start to poison the organism, okay, if you do not rightly feed and water the organism, it will become sick. That's foundational simplicity, okay? If you do not take care of the terrain, then the body needs to do and take measures to correct that error. Okay. So if you continually eat incorrectly, have lifestyle factors that are stressful, continue to inject poisons into the body, continue to suppress actions with drugs, continue to spray particulates all throughout your air, continue to destroy the ether itself with electromagnetic frequencies that alter our fields, all of these things. What happens is our own bodies create particles to repair those things. And we are living. We all our cells are living. Another thing I think is important for people trying to understand this is if you go to my YouTube channel, which by the way will soon be Yum Naturals, because I'm rebranding from Yummy Mummy Emporium to Yum Naturals. If you go to that YouTube and you look at some of the videos that I posted about looking at somatides or microzyma under the microscope, the living blood, if you actually look at living blood and how it behaves, how the cells behave, it helps you realize everything going on there is alive. Okay, everything's moving toward a stimulus, away from a stimulus, eating, pooping, everything's happening in there. Okay, and you have 3 times as many cells of bacteria and microbes in your body as your own cells. You are more them than yourself. Mm-hmm. So what are you trying to kill? What are you trying to purify? Why? It's been an attack on the germ from the very beginning. Because if you can be afraid of something that you can't see, you can be controlled and manipulated. It always was political. It was born of a political agenda. The virus myth was born before they could even see things that small in the first place. Mm-hmm. And it was created in a wartime to affect the enemy ships so they would not be able to come to port and fuel up and get supplies. So it was basically a wartime tactic that worked so well, the king decided to use it again and again, and other kings decided to use it. So this is where the lie came from, a virus, which means poison in Latin. And that's really what happened in poisoning. And then your own cells, your own blood cells, actually begin a process, a pleomorphic process, by which a progenitor cell, a germ cell, will begin to change and go through a 16-stage cycle to create varying particles. Now, normally what it would like to do is use bacteria to remove the toxins, ideally. However, even our bacteria can become poisoned and detrimentally damaged by our own waste. And if their milieu, if their own host systems cannot survive the terrain, if it's so acidic and so toxic, it must have a backup measure to repair. So there are a few split-offs, really 3 split-offs that happen at this point that are so underwhelmed and understudied in the medical jargon and scientific papers, although you can find information. You have to know how to look and you have to know the terms to look for. Mm-hmm. It's there, but it's underwhelmed. That particle number 1 is one of the end stages of the 16-stage cycle. It will create a smallest particle, which will contain pieces of your own DNA. And those are the toolboxes that will be sent to cells to repair whatever can be repaired from a DNA standpoint. Okay? And that then will be either engulfed and recycled back in, or will be shed. So we will shed those particles, but they're harmless. Okay? Once the job is done, the DNA transfer has occurred. Mm-hmm. Then we have another particle that comes from shock proteins. If you take bacteria and you suddenly kill them, they will make phages. So there's another format called a phage. We've seen pictures. They kind of have this very geometric head and this interesting body and little legs. They kind of look like a little spider. Yeah. And they hold that DNA piece of the bacterium inside of them. So when the coast is clear and things are in a good state, the bacterial lineages can come back again. And incidentally, the part of the body that is responsible mostly for all of this is your appendix. Mm-hmm. And we tend to discount things. I mean, the collective we in the medical cult, we, tends to discount vestigial organs, or so they call them, that because they don't know what they do. So just because they're ignorant, they just, cut it out. Who needs it? You don't need it, right? You don't need your spleen really either. You don't need, you know, your
Yeah.
tonsil.
Can I
You
just
need everything.
can I just pause you for 1 second? I think there is an echo, but I'm not too sure how to get rid of this echo, to be honest. Let me try
Probably have to
again.
mute yourself while I talk, usually.
Can I do that? I'll put the volume down because it might be from mine. So
Yeah, we have to
let me
do that
try
on Skype
this.
all the time when we get feedback.
Okay.
So there's the phage. So the phage is the shock protein support so that that particle can come back again.
Yeah.
And then there are the particles that are used. So there are proteins or microzyma that actually go in a circle format. They will create that spiky looking creature
Mhm.
that we call the corona, or we
Yeah.
call some of these viruses and so forth. And Dr. Kaufman has brought to the forefront as an exosome or as a waste particle. And that's exactly what it does, is it will envelop toxic matter that should not be there to remove it from the body.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's a blebbing off of membrane, and it's removed. Sometimes it's a lipid bilayer that's involved. So exosomes are not just these particles. There's a whole bunch of different kinds of exosomes.
Yeah.
So some are truly a blebbing form of the cellular membrane itself, the double lipid bilayer, right? That's there. So some of them will be fat, cellular, and some will be protein. And those are the ones that are the viral side of things. And so you have millions and zillions and uncountable amounts of these things, and everybody makes them, and everybody makes them a little bit different. And so then you get these people with the foundational error going, well, see how it's mutating? Because now over in Italy, it's like a little bit different, this
Mm-hmm.
particular particle, than somebody in Spain, somebody in Austria. So it must be mutating,
Mm-hmm.
right? But if you don't understand that we are individual and we will make similar but slightly different particles, we have a similar genome but slightly different genome. So that's how this mistake
Mm-hmm.
has happened.
It's like their scapegoat. That's what they say. It's a mutation. It's like just a word that they're giving people without any understanding of it at all, and they're just labeling it a mutation just to carry on this whole virus theory.
Yeah.
When it's not actually mutation.
No, the idea of mutation, the idea of carriers, the terminology that's being used is a interesting creative method that these industries do. They take terms from other areas and adopt them into their system.
Mm-hmm.
So they took terms from the genetic world and adopted them into the virology world
Mm-hmm.
because it was convenient. Just like in the vaccine industry, they adopted the herd immunity term
Yeah.
and changed it without justification or science to conveniently prove their whatever they wanted to
Mm-hmm.
say.
Yeah.
And the problem is we are so obedient. Once something's established in the collective, we're so obedient to it. And it takes a long time to etch away at that. It's like one solid imprint comes at humanity and it sticks.
Mm-hmm.
And now it would take years and years to etch it away and etch it away. Like there was a story of the Queen's ships in Britain, and the ship, the seamen were dying, right, en masse, and they finally figured out it's because they had scurvy and they weren't
Yeah.
eating enough vitamin C, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or in that case, it was lemons. And all they were saying to the Queen was, hey, let's just put lemons on the ship and, you probably won't lose so many people. Like, just saying, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the first phase of those people saying that were hung. The second phase of people saying that were removed from the situation. It took, I think it was something like 40 years. I mean, an insane amount of time before finally they went, oh, okay, maybe we'll put some lemons on the ship. You know, it's this psychology
Mm-hmm.
that's the trouble, right? Because we get locked into belief systems and we get trapped in illusions. And then we invest in the illusion.
Mm-hmm.
And once we're invested in the illusion, good luck, right? Because that means you have to, first of all, be brave enough to think a new thought. You have to change potentially your entire lifestyle. That your belief systems are very rooted to your ego for most people. So then you have to do ego work. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, that's why
A
this
whole
thing
lot of work, yeah.
is a whole lot of work, right? But this is where we're at now because we're getting to this point where the cabal is making such a disaster of our reality that it's falling apart anyway, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's an opportunity for the truth that's been waiting for the door to open to enter. And
Yeah.
that's why we're finally having these conversations. I mean,
Yeah.
Stefan Lenka has been trying to have this conversation for like the 30, I think 30 years or
Yeah.
something like that. You know what I mean? It's
These
like
stuff,
banging your head against the wall.
yeah. I mean, they're just heavily suppressed. I mean, if you're even just trying to look at this kind of literature, look at these people trying to speak, how deep you have to go to even get these names is ridiculous. And so
Especially now.
anybody watching, you do have to do the research. Unfortunate as it is, you have to go in with yourself and you have to put in that work. And I know we just went through what a virus really is, and you've named a lot of heavy terms that I know a lot of people will probably not get. So, in terms of explaining a virus more simple terms, could you give that so that people can understand a little better?
Okay, so let's take an example because I saw a comment say, what about influenza? Okay, so let's
Yeah,
take an example of a
that's
named
perfect.
disease, right? So we're unique individuals, but we also have similar things. We have similar genome, right? We have similar behaviors in a lot of senses. And we basically are making these particular particles in certain frameworks to remove wastes, okay? To heal tissue and remove wastes. When when the lungs, let's say, have been inundated with toxins, or they haven't been functioning in a specific way. So a specific thing happens to the body that's very repeatable, meaning a lot of people get certain types of lung issues, and that's the influenza. It's a specific histology, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
So the histology means the tissue type. So the tissue type and the action upon that tissue is the same. Yeah? Same for you, same for me, same for buddy down the street. Okay? That process and that stimulus is the same. It will produce the same patterning of particle for that particular process because we have this innate knowledge inside of our bodies on how to do something with a specific tissue, with a
Mm-hmm.
specific type of cell. Because we have all different kinds of cells and all different kinds of things that can happen to it. So it's tough because you do need to know a little bit of histology and a little bit of pathology. But if you understand that, then you would realize that if you and me and somebody else had a similar process happen in our bodies, we would produce a very similar particle to
Mm-hmm.
heal it. Okay? Just like if you cut yourself, you're going to bleed, I'm going to bleed, and the blood's going to look the same. We all know what red blood cells look like if we've ever seen one under a microscope. White blood cells, they all look similar.
Yeah.
Same idea in how the particles are formed to heal a specific pathology and tissue type. So if it's asthma, they're going to produce different particles than if it's a true influenza idea or a true, whatever the disease name you're calling it. And that's how we've compartmentalized these things. But you'll see mix-ups. You'll see for example, we have a natural in our lungs. We have a natural bacterium called H. pylori. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It lives in our lungs and it's good for us. It's in the right place and it works on continuing to remove toxins from the lungs, which, like I said earlier, it's preferred to use bacteria for these jobs mainly. Only when the organism has gotten really in a bad microbiome, so the microbial milieu or the host milieu or the bacterium dudes, I'm trying to simplify here, they're dying off and they're not happy and they can't work for whatever reason. Then you get the viruses. The viruses are mean you're not really you're the most unhealthy because that's the backup particle, really.
Yeah.
So that state. Say you're in like your lungs are a little bit inflamed. Okay, say you went to a party, somebody offered you a cigarette. You don't normally smoke. You got stimulated, inflamed, and when you're inflamed, you make mucus.
Mm-hmm.
And say you start coughing up mucus, because that happens if you're clearing out the lungs, because that's what mucus is doing there. It's making mucus in response to tissue inflammation. Okay. So, but say instead of spitting that out, you swallowed it. Say you were out public and you couldn't just huck a loogie somewhere.
Yeah.
You had to be discreet. Okay. And say you were doing that repeatedly. The bacteria that normally live inside your lungs could get into your stomach. Okay. Now, say as well, you were partying, drinking lots of alcohol, not taking care of your gut health. Your gut was in a bit of disarray. Maybe you had vaccine damage, which destroys the gut microbiome. Who knows? Antibiotics, you had taken antibiotics, and that destroyed your good microbes. And so you swallowed a microbe from your lungs into your inflamed gut
Mm-hmm.
without your own microbes to take it away because it doesn't belong there. You would get a condition called H. pylori infection. Yeah?
Yeah.
This is where it comes from. It comes
Mm-hmm.
from you. So this is the shift of thinking. What am I making? What is my body creating in response to these conditions that are being placed upon it? And if you do not poison the organism, if you feed it right, you don't get these things.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get sick.
It's like the terrain versus germ theory. It's all about the terrain. The microbe is nothing, the terrain is everything. I think that's a perfect statement that kind of awakens you to the reality of everything. And if you start believing in invisible killers from the external world coming inside of us, and they say it does a load of, hogwash, taking over ourselves and, making ourselves obey and then replicating and doing whatever they say it does. If we step away from that and realize that that is based off, like you're saying, a foundation of science which is just totally not right, you can then work on your own health, because ultimately it's great knowing this stuff, right? It's really good knowing it, but ultimately you want to benefit your own health through it. And this knowing about the virus really does awaken you to that, and it allows you and kind of opens a doorway for yourself to elevate your own health.
Yeah, that's the whole point
Mm-hmm.
of this understanding in my mind, is because it's self-empowerment, and that's the opposite of what the cabal want. They want you dependent on them and their system. They don't want you to feel that you have the knowledge and the grounded awareness enough to go, okay, I'm starting to feel chesty right now. Maybe I have a sore throat right now. I haven't been taking care of myself that well. Maybe you know what I'll do? I'll go take some colloidal silver. I'll make sure I fast a little bit today and drink lots of pure water. Maybe I'll do an enema and up my vitamin C and see how I feel tomorrow, right? That's where you need to be thinking. But if you the person that's in the cult, in the medical cult,
Mm-hmm.
and trained to go to the white coats, they go, oh my gosh, my throat, what's happening? Oh my God, I don't know what's happening. What's wrong with me? I'm gonna go to the doctor and get this checked out, right? That's their response. They respond in a fear-like method, right? And then they go into danger because they walk into the door of someone who might be smiling and act nice and whatever, but they're dangerous. They're dangerous people because they don't have the knowledge and the tools to properly help you right the homeostasis in your body. They instead have been indoctrinated into a belief system that says that all of these germs are bad and cause disease, and these are all the causes when they're actually the effects, not the cause, the effect. It totally flipped 180. And they believe that you're a machine and that if you suppress the symptom and you bury it and it doesn't come back for a long time, then they've cured you. They've done their job. And that's the opposite of health. That's actually making the disease force worse. And I can't tell you, I've seen this literally thousands of times in my career. People coming to me so exhausted by the continual back and forthness of going to these practitioners, to these doctors, specialists, wasting a lot of time as well, to be experimented on, really, because they're just given maybe an off-book drug, or they're given a heavier dose of cortisol, or they're given things like insulting, like it's all in your head, or there couldn't possibly, and when they bring evidence like, hey, I read this thing about colloidal silver or MMS, or I've read something about this, and what do you think? They'll go, well, they'll either do, well, whatever works for you, or they'll go, that's quackery, that's horrible, throw that out, get offended. They only have two responses, and those are the two of them. Because I've heard the same story over and over again. Why? Because they have deep indoctrination, and they can't go there. Now, the ones who do go there, they exit the cult because they won't be licensed anymore. They won't allow them to be licensed anymore.
It is a cult. Like, when I say this to people, cult, what? It really is. Like, if you analyze it genuinely is a cult, like, sector or establishment, these doctors. And more people need to awaken to the fact that they are. And you touched on suppression versus expression. I know you did a video on that. It was a very good video. And you talk about how the medical industry aim to suppress the expression of our healing modalities, right? And our healing. For practical purposes, what should somebody do if they have a cold or a flu or a fever?
Well, the first step is to identify where you've gone wrong in your health. So, for example, if you're starting to feel symptoms of something, you have to check in with your body and say, have I been eating okay lately? Have I been sleeping enough? Like, have my emotions been erratic? Have I been stewing anger inside of myself? Have I not been exercising? Have I been drinking enough water? Am I chronically dehydrated? So the first step is always to ask questions, and that's what a good practitioner will do, is start asking these questions. Are you constipated? Are you, are all your lifestyle factors need to be looked at? Where are you going wrong here? Okay, and everybody's a little bit different. So, a lot of people go, this is better, this diet's better than that diet, and all these things all the time. And I don't even get involved with that. Because you know what? For somebody, that diet might be good, and for somebody else, that diet might be terrible. And we need to honor that and respect that. Depends on where you live, depends on how you grew up, depends on your gut microbiome, depends on all these factors, how you eat. I don't do well eating meat, and I never have, and that's me, okay? I have a specific blood type that's aligned with that. I grew up that way. That's how I feel good. Another person might not. They might need it. Okay? So it's no right or wrong. It's what's right for you. Yeah, that's individualized medicine. So identifying those factors is step one. Step two is the tough part, because this is where a lot of people come to me and say, I'm completely overwhelmed. There's so many ways I can do this. That's what's incredible, and that's what's outrageous, that the medical establishment can't even take a drop of the bucket of the hundreds of thousands of natural remedies that exist on this earth. How embarrassing for them. I mean, it's terrible. They can't even open the box a little and go like, they'll reach out to one of the worst supplements, which is calcium. They give you like this big piece of chalk to swallow. That's as far as they'll go, but they can't, because if they open that, they're done, right? So then it would be like, what are the finer basics that are essentials to my health? Well, the vitamins and minerals. So either you're going to change your food, so you're getting more vitamins and minerals. You're eating organic, you're growing your own, you're eating them fresher, you're learning how to eat better to get those vitamins and minerals, or you're having to supplement, you're having to find ways to do it through other means. And there's so many. That's the thing, right? Like things that I go to again and again after so many years of doing this, it's actually whittled down a bit, which is interesting. I find people are chronically magnesium deficient, and we don't absorb it well through the gut. So I always suggest topical, either Epsom salt baths or topical spray. We're chronically deficient in B vitamins because we're always stressed. So taking a B multi is a good preventative to do as a rule. If you're not living seaside, I see chronic iodine deficiencies, despite the salt that they fortify with iodine, which is garbage. And a lot of people will switch out for that salt and still not get enough, especially women. And in certain women, iron, I see a lot of iron deficiencies going on. And copper deficiencies in men, I'm seeing quite a bit as well. And then also sulfur deficiencies. So DMSO, MSM, sulfur, those things to bring that back and bring the tissue back into integrity. And then you'll get into sort of microminerals, things like boron. I see a lot of boron deficiencies as well, even selenium in some cases. So we're seeing also vitamin C. It's incredible, and zinc. These things are, you gotta check them off the list and go, do I have enough of these things? In the winter, am I taking D, or am I getting enough D, right? In Canada here, we're chronically D deficient to the point where the doctors won't even test for it anymore. They just assume you are. That's it. They won't even pay for the test. They're just like, yeah, you just take it because you probably are. So then there's all of that, and that's a huge. What I suggest is get a few good, well-rounded books, that you have with you, not just internet searches. Like, have a couple of books you like. Get a good herbal compendium. Get a good general nutritional book that has everything in it, right? And get a good homeopathic book. If you have those three, then you can go to the condition. This is how I started actually learning. I felt whatever, or somebody said they felt whatever, I go to the book and open to that category and read, and then go launch off from there, right?
Like so back in the old days.
Yeah, and then start playing around with it. And now we have the season that you can go and learn the plants that grow around you. I always suggest people to do that. We have plantain everywhere, dandelion everywhere. I mean, yarrow. I mean, these plants are potent. And you said something about fever. I just wanted to mention, you never ever suppress a fever, okay? So the fever is your healing mechanism. The symptoms that you're experiencing are the healing mechanism, you see. This is the issue in the medical cult, is they see the symptom as the problem that must be eradicated at all costs, rather than honoring the fact that the symptom is the brilliance of the body doing the work of healing it. And so you want to understand why it's doing that symptom, and then you want to support that situation. Buffer it. You might have to buffer it. You might have to guide it. You might need to feed it with the right nutrition so it can go through the process in an appropriate amount of time. Right? But you don't just clamp it down, because the body will eventually go, well, screw this. We got to do a workaround now with all this. And usually that workaround is stronger and harder on the body, wasting more of its precious energy, right? And so there's repercussions. That's what they call side effects. Okay? So that's getting some books, because who knows? I mean, we don't know how crazy it's going to get when they do their second wave in the fall or whatever they're planning, right? Because they're psychopaths and they're not going to give up without a fight. They're not going to. We're awakening. That's going to piss them off even more, and who knows what shock they're going to try to do, whether it's internet based, whether it's their stupid Project Bluebeam crap, whether they're just going to attack us through our devices using some of the tech. Well, I don't
Wave
know.
two apparently is coming, which will be
What's
the
that?
vaccines.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I think that is the next thing, I guess, is the thing. The issue we will be focusing on is mandatory vaccines and what we do if this is rolled out. Just to go back just a little bit, because you mentioned vitamin D, and I know a lot of people, especially I live in the UK, I'm here in Germany at the moment, and they're chemtrailing every day. There is no sunshine. Everyone's vitamin D deficient. How would you suggest if somebody lives in a country like that? I think Canada may be the same.
Yeah.
Um, how does somebody get their vitamin D?
Well, I mean, obviously, the amount of sunlight you need to get per day is at least 15 to 20 minutes of the majority of your skin.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that's your sort of barometer. Have I gotten 15 minutes of almost total body sun? Then you'll be enough for you if you were in health. But
Mm-hmm.
then the problem is vitamin D is the backbone of all our hormones, and we also have hormone mimicking and modulating chemicals that are thrown at us left, right, and center. That means we need more D than we would under normal circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
And that, so it changes from case to case and how much is required. Now there's vitamin D2 and vitamin D3. D2 is considered better, but it doesn't store well. That's the problem. You can get it through animal products and you can get it through like fish oils and these sorts of things. But I generally, personally, I take a D with K2 because we also tend to be deficient in vitamin K2, which is essential for shuttling calcium into our bone matrix so we don't
Mm-hmm.
get bone loss. And so I take like a liquid supplement, which I find better absorbed, or you do sublinguals, so you do it absorbed through the mouth. And that generally I do about, I would say 5,000 international units as the lower end of it. You can go pretty high if you need to, especially in cases like cancer, you need to go pretty high, even up to
Yeah.
20,000 or so international units, like orthomolecular doses, which are
Yeah.
therapeutic doses of things. So you can do things like that. I think I remember in naturopathic college there was this running joke that if you eat a polar bear liver, you can die of vitamin D toxicity. That's the most amount of vitamin D of
Yeah.
anything because they absorb so much sun through
Mm.
their black skin, so they store a lot of it and they use a
Yeah.
lot of it.
Wow, crazy. So I'm just gonna check the time close to the end of this live. So I just want to highlight, if you I want there to be some practicality as well to this, and there has been. And this live has been amazing. I'm going to save this and post this as soon as this is over. But to the people, to everybody watching, like, how would you tell them to improve their health, or what direction should they go in, or do you have any words to help people to elevate their health game? Because ultimately, I do believe this is the sole thing we need to do, because medicine is the ultimate tool of control. And if we all get healthy, all get well, we can dismantle the system simply by doing this. So yeah, do you have any words on this?
Yeah, that's accurate. And mainly the first step is to understand that you're worthy, that you matter, that you're important here, that you're not nothing, that you're not random, that you're not worthless, and that you have incredible value that's been underappreciated. Okay, so that's step one, is realizing, going into like a self-worth, self-love place where you look at your own divinity and you look at your own sacredness and you honor that. And then you want to reflect. You want to meditate, reflect, journal, go for walks, and contemplate your life, contemplate the meaning of your life, and make a decision for yourself, that make a goal for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
What is my goal? Well, I don't feel good in my body. I feel too overweight. Or I definitely have pain and I'm tired of feeling pain. Or I have these skin issues and I'm tired of dealing with it. Whatever your goal is, that's what you're going to work on and achieve. And then you begin to make the changes in your lifestyle that you know are very overt. So the big changes, like stop using chemicals in your household, in your cleaning, in your laundry, in your washing, all of those things. And no more Febrezes, no more Lysols, no
Mm-hmm.
more any of these chemicals. Okay, so stop bringing them in and switch over into something that's not going to damage your endocrine system, your hormone system. And then go, okay, what else can I quit that is not good for me? Drinking alcohol, smoking lots of cigarettes or weed, doing all kinds of behaviors that I know, and I know when I wake up in the morning, I regret drinking coffee, all of those behaviors. What can you pick away at those and change into something that's healthier?
Yeah.
And then you always look at the food and the water. What kind of water am I drinking? Am I drinking enough of it? Ideally, I recommend distilled water, or I have a hydrogen machine, makes hydrogen water, or pure, fresh, living, clean water that's still electrical,
Mm-hmm.
still alive. Those are the best waters.
Structured, yeah.
Yeah. And then, so make sure you're drinking enough of that. And then food. What kind of garbage do I keep putting in my mouth that I have to stop putting in my mouth?
Mm-hmm.
So those are always the beginning things, stopping the bad behaviors, because once you start to achieve that, automatically you're going to start feeling better. You're going to feel that you've done something good for yourself, and that becomes a new habit. And then you can start to look at, okay, what do I feel out there is suited for my condition?
Yeah.
Like, DMSO or some DMSO or MSM if you have muscle issues and pain, right? You need repair systems, right? All of those things. And then you can begin to test these things one at a time. The other thing I want to quickly mention that I do recommend across the board for everybody at this time are tissue salts. They're really misunderstood or underutilized, and they are biochemical intracellular electrical tissue salts that every cell of your body requires
Mm.
to function optimally. And
Tissue.
this new disease that they're calling COVID, the DIC, the disseminated intravascular coagulation of the lungs,
Mm-hmm.
that disease, which is not caused by a virus, which
Mm-hmm.
is caused by messing around with our ether, with 5G and other technologies that we're not adapting properly to, that's affecting our oxygen carrying capacity of the blood, is leading to clotting, microclotting in the lung. That, if you take the tissue salts ferrum phos, if you take the tissue salts caliphos, calimur, then you are protected from a lot of that.
Okay, wow, okay.
My website has them if you need to look them up. It's yummymummyemporium.org. The
Yeah.
new website will be yumnaturals.com. If you go to yumnaturals.com, it'll forward you to that site.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Because that's something people don't think about, but it's fundamental for health.
Yeah.
And we have electrical problems going on
Yeah.
right now.
Definitely.
Yeah,
I do want to get into this, but we just don't have the time.
I know.
I would love to have you on it again. So because there's just so much to cover, and I would love to cover it all. I think you're very well rounded in your knowledge with everything, and just everybody's asking for us to spell your channel. I will put it in the caption. I will put everything in the caption. Don't worry about it. But I want to just thank you for being on, taking the time to be on and share this information. It's been amazing, revealing, and this stuff has been so revealing for me, and I'm sure it's going to be for everybody else. So everybody put some hearts in the chat, and I really thank you for this. Thank you very much.
Thank
And
you.
definitely everybody go check her out. It's Yummy Mummy Emporium on YouTube, okay? and she has a website, and just seriously go through her videos, go through her description. She gives lots of articles, lots of links, and you can go down this research and just awaken to this whole monstrous lie. Okay, and it will benefit you, because with it comes practical information, and that's what we're about. We want to elevate our health game. We want to elevate our consciousness, and this is exactly what she's doing. So yeah, definitely check her out. And again, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And we'll try and get another one up. Okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. Okay.
Sounds
Thank you.
okay. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.